Hell yeah.
Hell
Man.
yeah. Welcome to Gambletown. It looks like it's frozen though.
Deku's
They can
here.
hear
What
us?
up, Deku? Let's
Okay.
party.
Guys, welcome to Gambletown, unless Ryan is going to rename it something else.
No, we'll let Tony do that once. Well, I guess I'm never going to give up my reign, so we might not get that. We
That's
might not
true.
get that name that Tony wants to do, but I won't ruin it until
My
Tony.
man is feeling confidence. All right. Yeah. So guys, welcome to Gambletown. Um I am Wally Dismail. With me as always is Tony Martin and Ryan Edgecombe.
Hello.
If you guys have been paying attention, you guys have been making money because we kick so much ass.
Dude,
I want to make sure that's clear.
all three of us hit our millionaire bets last week. That's insane. That's never
Yeah,
happened, I don't think,
I don't think
before.
that's happened before. Also, last week we were 9-6 on our top five bets of the week. 1-5 on parlays and 3-0 on our millionaire bets. On the season, we are 43-32, and over the last few weeks, we are 37-23. We are basically crushing it right now, and hopefully, we can keep the hotness going. Um, I wanna actually, I feel like I should push everything over to the Viscount of Gambletown, uh, our liege Ryan Edgecombe.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
Killing
So
it.
I've got $61.50 this week um to
oh
to
man,
use for my millionaire bet this week, which we'll get to later.
it's so spicy.
It is, and I think it's going to mirror
I like
the
it. I
millionaire bet that I did a couple weeks ago to start this reign. So
Okay.
this is my third uh, week as Viscount of Gambletown.
It's true.
Um, so I'm gonna try and keep this going, but we'll tell you our millionaire bets later.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I think of all of us, I'm the one that has the most streaks for the millionaire. Like, I think last year I had one that was going like 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
Yep. That's true.
but I'm gonna try and keep it going. We'll
yeah.
see.
And I want to point out too that Ryan on the season for his top five bets is 14-11. Tony is the king of us all when it comes to the top five bets at
Yeah,
16-9. I'm only
Tony's
thirteen and
crushing.
twelve. I'm 13-12. It's still a winning record, but it's not as good. But I make up for it in parlays.
Sure. Yeah,
Yep.
you're the only one. Or at least I haven't hit any yet. I know you got one or two.
Yeah,
So
Tony's got one. I've got three.
Oh, you got
so
three.
Yeah.
let's go to Tottenham. Let's start. You guys
Oh,
ready?
I'm ready. Good
Yeah.
day, mates.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna throw another shrimp on the Barbie there in the
Merry
UK.
old England.
Um, so we've got Baltimore. Tennessee is technically the home team. Baltimore are 4.5 point favorites. Tennessee victory would be plus 188 on the money line, and the total point spread is 42.5. Ryan, as the champ, what do you got?
I really like a Zay Flowers touchdown this week in this game. Zay Flowers right now is tied with Evan Ingram for the most catches at 29 without scoring a touchdown yet this year. So I
Okay.
think he's due. The Titans' defense against the pass is not that good. Their run defense is better, and they've given up 5 pass touchdowns already this year. That doesn't seem like a lot, but we only have 5 games through the season, so that's one a game. I think and Zay Flowers is getting a lot of targets, so I like a Zay Flowers touchdown this week. I like Baltimore to win. Um, uh, because the Titans' red zone offense is really bad right now. They've only scored a touchdown on 35.3% of their red zone visits this season. That's tied with the Texans for the third worst in the NFL. So I think Baltimore is going to win this game. I think it's going to be a slower game because it's prime time. It's in London. Um, I don't really want to mess with the under because it is a little bit low for a primetime game at 42.5. Um, I think it's probably going to be right around that. I don't think it's going to be a crazy 35-27 game, but it's going to be a closer game than you think, and Baltimore is going to come out with the win.
Okay. Waleed, what do you got?
So there's really only a couple of bets I like here. I think that Mark Andrews over looks interesting, but I'm not betting it. The only real bet I'm making here is the Zay Flowers receiving over 58.5. This is a really good matchup. There was one other thing that kind of stuck out to me because Tony and I have been talking about this a lot off the air, where teams that play a lot of man coverage are good for mobile quarterback rushing stats. So I'm looking at that Lamar Jackson over 42.5. I think that as teams go deep, he might get a couple of really good looks. So I think that over is a really interesting play. But the real bet here is the receiving over for Zay Flowers. I think that is such a smash play this week.
Sure.
Also, I have
And
a
if you want to do his over too, Waleed, I'd also put in his over 4.5 receptions with your
I,
parlay because it's at
can,
it's
can
minus
I
146. Yeah.
I kind of want to tell you, I actually have a $1 parlay where I did it because I get my boost for this game. So I went over on receiving yards for him, over on receptions, and a one touchdown bet. $1 pays out like $6.50 basically.
Yeah, I
So
like that.
I'm just betting on Zay Flowers because I think he's the guy. He's the clear number one target in this offense. I think he's
Yep.
getting more looks than like Mark Andrews. Last week he had a bad week. He should have he like I had my ladder play on him, and it's not like
I've got some numbers.
yeah. And it's not like he couldn't he wasn't like getting the looks. He hit his over, but he had so many freaking drops. Tony, I'm gonna let you take over on this one because I think you know.
So one of my top 5 bets of the week is Zay Flowers over 58.5 receiving yards. And here's the thing. So you look at Zay's target share through the first 5 games. Week 1, insane, 47%. Week 2, down to earth, 15%. He went 33%, 22%. Last week, even though there were plays that he didn't make, he still had a 29% target share. All right. So he's over throughout the year, he's had a 28% target share on this team. He's going to get, if Lamar's taking 28 attempts a game, which is his rough average, that's 9 targets at a 28% target share. So if you're giving me between 8 to 9 targets for Zay Flowers, for a dude that, by the way, is 5th in the league among receivers in evaded tackle rate after the catch, in man coverage, you're telling me that this guy can't break a long one? Because
Nice.
I'm going for it.
Yeah, if you watched
Titans
him
are
in college, you knew that too.
Titans are 8th in the league in the percentage of man coverage that they play. And when they're in man coverage, they are 5th worst in the league in yards allowed per target. So everything here screams Zay Flowers, and that's pretty much all I have this year, or for this game. But I want to just point out, you guys, I want to just silently point out something to you. Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips was back from IR last week, and he's gonna be a thing. Kyle Phillips coming back in a couple weeks. All right. Anything else before we move on?
I saw you pick him up in a dynasty, in one of the dynasty leagues we were in together, and I was like, yeah,
If he's on a wire, I want him.
I don't blame you. I think he's a solid pickup.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to one of the most curious lines I've ever seen. We kind of spazzed about this on the podcast last night. We've
Yeah,
got
we've
San
been talking about it a
Francisco.
little bit before we got on the air too.
Yep, we got San Francisco going to Cleveland. San Francisco on the road are 9.5-point favorites. The money line for a Cleveland upset behind PJ Walker is plus 380, and the total is 35.5. Waleed.
If I'm being honest, I don't think I have anything in this game. I don't. The only thing that I'm kind of interested in is the under because that line is so low that I
Yeah.
feel like they know something.
We were talking about this last night with Shane, and I think historically it's like the lowest under I think I've ever seen for an NFL game.
And I feel like there's a stat. I wish I knew how to find it, but I feel like when I unders are when the line is set under 40, the under hits significantly more than the over. But Deku, uh, good evening to you, but it is afternoon for us because we are not British.
Deku, we're putting Zay Flowers in as many DFS lineups as humanly possible this week.
Good
Just so
God,
you,
we
just so
are.
you know. So you have nothing on here.
No, I don't care enough about this game. I think the defense is interesting, and, like, I don't like betting on players for the 49ers, like, because 'cause I'm a big player prop guy, because I don't know who it's gonna be. And because of how good Cleveland's defensive line is, I'm hesitant to bet on Brock Purdy. I won't bench him though. I Brock Purdy last week reached don't sit your stud status for me because of what he did to the Dallas Cowboys defense. If he can do that against Dallas, he can do it against anyone. And I think that 49ers team, is there a bet like I wonder, is there a prop for them going undefeated right now? Because I'd be curious what those
So
odds are, and I probably would throw a dollar on it.
There's a last undefeated team prop out there somewhere.
Is there? I bet the odds
Yeah.
on that are terrible.
Um,
But I want like the prop where he's completely undefeated.
okay. And so Ryan, what do you got?
So we got one of the best offenses going against one of the best defenses right now. The Browns have only given up 5 offensive touchdowns this season. Averaging 1 touchdown a game. Um, so
That's gonna change.
yeah, it's going to change as we clearly saw. One of the best defenses in Dallas last week gets spanked by this offense. Um, Browns are going to come back to earth this week. I like putting money down on a Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown. It's at like minus 180 or something right now, which is actually because he's going up against the Cleveland defense pretty low. Normally, a Christian McCaffrey touchdown would be like minus 250,
Yeah,
something
I
like
was gonna
that.
say that is a low number for it.
Um,
What's
the
the streak at right now? Do you know?
14
Yeah.
games,
Okay.
something like that, maybe 13. So the 49ers, but here's a good set. The 49ers have scored 30 points in 8 straight games. That's the 5th longest streak in NFL history. Um, I don't think they're going to score 30 points this week, but I'm definitely taking them to win. Especially because, Watson's not playing and Ford is starting again, I think, right?
You
Yep.
know what?
And
I'm kind of curious. What is the adjusted the total points for actually San Francisco? Because
alternate
that
total
over
points.
no, just like if you just pick the 49ers like over on points, there's usually like you can pick, yeah, 49ers total points is at 22.5 is the over. I think that might be a smash. If you remember when
Yeah, I
Baltimore
think,
when Baltimore played Cleveland without their starting quarterback, Baltimore
yeah,
rolled them.
yeah. And
And I think
I think that's where they're getting this under of 35.5 because I think the game script could be like 24-10, something like
yeah,
that,
and I think that 49er total points over is a sneaky value play because what are like I mean the 49ers are averaging over 30 points a game. And I know
That
that Browns
they've like
defensive line is
yeah,
good, but
eight
like
straight games with 30 points.
yeah, you got that's a really low number for that over. I think I might I don't know. I'm going to think about that, but I might go into that one because that looks like a fun bet.
All right, Ryan, anything else?
No, you can go ahead, Tony. I know you got
No,
stuff.
no worries. Just asking. Because I really only have one line I like in this game, and it's strength on strength, right? So it's a good player in a bad matchup. Um, Brandon Ayuk has been fucking killing it this year,
So
and
good.
um, he's running routes on 81% of San Francisco's dropbacks, and he is getting zero point 0.3 targets per route run. So
That's a good number.
his line, they've nerfed his line this week because he's going against Cleveland and they've been so good. His receiving yardage line on Sleeper was 47.5. His receiving line on FanDuel is 50.5. I like the extra 3 yard flexibility I get on Sleeper, so that's why I took it there. I don't want Brandon Ayuk in DFS because I worry that he could go 3 for 60 and have no touchdown, and like
Mhm.
that's a death sentence at his price. But in terms of like, I have a bunch of 2 leg parlays on Sleeper going into this week because the odds in return are just so fucking nice. Um, so I have Ayuk's over at 47.5, but I'm a little bit more hesitant to play it um, in on FanDuel where it's 50.5 because Cleveland's defense is really, really good.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to our next 12 o'clock game. We've got Washington going to Atlanta. Atlanta are 2.5-point home favorites in the battle between quarterbacks nobody wanted in the 2022 NFL Draft. A Commanders upset is plus 110, and the point total is 42.5. Ryan, start us off.
All right, so this is going to be a Bijan game. I'm taking his over. It's right now it's at 69.5. I'm taking Atlanta to win this game. But I'm not going to bet the spread because Atlanta is 0-4 against the spread in the last 4 games. And it's pretty tight. I could see them, it's 2.5 right now. I could see them going by a field goal, or maybe even 1 point. But I'm not messing around with the spread in this game just because Atlanta's got bad. This should be a really close game, actually, I'm thinking. Let's see, 2021, when Washington played, they squeaked out a last-second win with 33 seconds left. Last year, when they played against each other, Mariota threw an interception with 1 minute and 3 seconds left to win the game. So historically, these teams play pretty close. This might go against the grain. I don't know. It's tough to say with this one. Atlanta's only allowing 3.8 yards per rush attempt. They're giving up the 6th fewest points to wide receivers. And Sam Howell has been sacked an NFL high 29 times already. Ouch.
Is that bad? That sounds bad.
That's bad.
Okay. All right, good.
So really all I like in this game is Bijan's rushing over. This game's has the potential to be pretty close, and it's just going to be too hard for me to predict some of these lines. And I think Vegas has got a lot of these lines locked in.
Okay. Waleed.
So I'm not really making any bets in this game, but the one line that really stands out to me is Logan Thomas's receiving over at 37.5 is pretty low. If you look at him, among tight ends, he's run the 11th most routes, and he's played 2 less games than some of them. And his target share in that offense is pretty significant because Washington's stupid. Like, why would you throw to Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin when you got an old ass tight end? But whatever. Like, he's getting the usage, so it's a bet that like there is value on it. I'm not betting on it because I don't like betting overs on players I don't actually like. But I do think that there's a misvaluation on that line. So
Okay. Ryan. Oh, you said Bijan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I did my
yeah,
stuff for this one, yeah.
So I mentioned this Brandon Ayuk over at 47.5 is one of the little mini sleeper parlays I did.
yeah,
Logan Thomas over 35.5 receiving yards on sleeper is the other leg of that 2-leg parlay.
nice.
Um, Waleed, you pointed out that he's played 2 less games. He's actually played 2.5 less games because he was taken out with a concussion in one
Yeah,
of those games. So like they are featuring this old ass man as like the centerpiece of their offense. Jahan Dotson has not hit a 25% target share in any game of this season for Washington.
and and I think part of the reason is because Eric Bieniemy is trying to turn Logan Thomas into Travis Kelsey. He's coming from Kansas City, and I think they're running a similar kind of style. The problem is Logan Thomas is not Kelsey, but he's
Well,
getting Kelsey, but he's getting Kelsey usage.
I want to make a video of Sarah McLaughlin's in the arms of an angel and just splice it with Jahan Dotson getting open and being ignored. um,
It really, it's so dumb.
Jahan Dotson, I'm afraid, is just going to be the next Terry McLaurin with just be a great player that gets no love because his team sucks
I,
and
I'm
they
very,
can't get the ball.
I'm really curious to see who they hire next year as their head coach because
It's
Rivera's
going to be
not
the
surviving
enemy.
the year.
They're just going to promote the enemy, I would assume.
Oh my
Um,
god.
but in terms of this game, I want to point out real quick, there is an incredibly mispriced line out there, but you have to have some real fucking guts to take it because it's Drake London at 45.5 yards.
You
Oh
know
Um,
what?
wow.
That was on my list, highlighted as a really like that. This matchup for Drake London is so good, and
yeah,
the problem is that you have to trust Desmond Ritter for him to hit it.
right.
And
Right.
And
good
Arthur
God,
Smith,
is it so
really.
hard for me?
And so I want to point out that that Drake London's line is 45.5, and Washington's defense gives up the fourth most receiving yards to just receivers, not tight ends, not anything. Strictly receivers. We watched DJ Moore completely pants Washington's defense.
If you didn't say it, I was gonna.
We watched Emmanuel Forbes look completely outmatched last week, the rookie cornerback.
Yeah.
And Drake London can win against these CBs, but can Desmond Ridder win against Desmond Ridder? And
I want to say Washington runs man at like one of the highest rates in the league, and Drake London will destroy man coverage.
And also I wanted to speak to Ryan's bet on Bijan real quick before we move on. The fantasy points data suite, I just want to give a shout out. Like, it's fucking incredible.
It's one of the best. It's the best football and fantasy football resource that exists right now, I think.
And one of the things that you can look up is offensive line performance versus defensive line, like penetration, expected win rate, whatever. Atlanta has the 7th best defensive adjusted rush grade of the week versus Washington's defensive line. So it's a top 10 matchup for Bijan. And I don't know if you guys know this, Bijan, he's him.
He is absolutely.
Bijan is him. So, anyways, let's move on. Let's go to a game that actually has legitimate implications here. We're going with Carolina visiting Miami. Miami are 14-point home favorites. The money line for a Carolina win is plus 700, and everyone laughing at you for spending money on that, even if you were right. And the point total is 47.5. Waleed, start us off.
So this is a game where the one prop that screams just a smash to me on this, the Raheem Mostert rushing over is such a good play. And it didn't make my top 5 bets of the week because honestly I thought the line was a little bit too high for my tastes. But that's not to say I'm not making bets, because the one thing I've been doing lately, I'm not just making my bets. When my guys on my team, when my partners here, when Ryan and Tony are making plays, I mean, their record's better than mine right now. So I'd be stupid not to take their bets. And I know for a fact that they're both in on Ryan especially is going to be in on Mostert. I almost feel like he should have gone before me on this one, but no, but honestly, it's such a good play. I also think an underrated bet here is Tyreek against that Carolina secondary. I think Tua is going to be a smash play. I am not betting Tua or Reek overs, but I am getting a couple of lineups with them in DFS because it's just such a tasty matchup. And we saw what Detroit did to them last week, and Miami's better offensively. And Raheem Mostert doesn't have I'm not worried about Selvin Ahmed. Yeah. I'm not worried about him taking touches. I worry Mostert's usage might be down. That's why that 77.5 line is a little bit too high for me. But at the same time, I have so many DFS shares of Raheem Mostert this week, even though he is one of the most expensive plays, because Carolina is so bad against the run. I also think there's some sneaky value in Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill, there's no sneaky value. Tyreek Hill, if you bet Tyreek Hill overs every week, you're going to come out ahead. And there's no reason not to do it.
Right.
Because right now, he is the best receiver in football. I don't think, you can make a debate, but just from a pure number standpoint, he's destroying everyone. And he's got and the reason he's the best also is because he's got Mike McDaniel calling plays for him that lets him destroy everyone in his side. I think Tony was talking about the Jalen Waddle breakout game last week. I kind of feel like this is the week where that actually happens. And he did, and Waddle had a good fantasy day last week. He just didn't hit his yardage prop over.
Yep.
He got his touchdown. He got his target share. And Waddle is coming back into his own. And I think this is a good get-right game. I honestly, what is the actual line on this? I'm on the wrong game. I was 2.5. Yeah, I was looking at the spread.
It's 14.
Yeah, that might be too low.
Yeah, no, I would definitely do Miami minus 14 for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not going to, because I just feel like minus 14 bets. Football is weird and things can happen.
If anything, this might follow the rule that we came up with last year when the the spread is 2 touchdowns or more, you bet the under on the game.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think there are two other
but
bets on the other side of the
this
football. Oh,
this game could be the outlier though,
yeah.
because Miami could go up 4 touchdowns before the first half is over.
Yeah, and I think that's good for another thing because there are two other bets here that I think are worth noticing, and that's Adam Thielen's receiving over at 59.5.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's really low. You know what? I want to actually.
I went the opposite way, Wally, and I went with Thielen's reception over a
Oh,
five and a half.
I already did your parlay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I know, but I want to point out that at what was it 59.5? Is that yeah? I mean, he's hit that in his last 3 games pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and honestly, um, Miami's got some safety issues. There are some problems though because I know that Thielen isn't as good against zone defenses, and that is predominantly what Miami is running. So that makes me
Sure.
nervous. But at the same time, I think he could get that in garbage time. Hayden Hurst also at
Yeah.
19 and a
Yeah.
half is a low enough line for this matchup that it could be good considering how bad Miami safeties are. But I don't really want to take overs on either of those guys. I couldn't make myself pull the trigger on those bets for that reason.
Sure.
Okay. Wally, you got anything else?
Nope.
All right, it's Ryan time.
All right, so one of my top 5 bets of the week in this game is a Mostert anytime touchdown. I know it's minus 200, but he's going to get a touchdown. And that parlays into my millionaire bet for this week, which is Mostert 2 or more touchdowns, which is at plus 250.
Yeah.
So I think this game is going to be a run fest. Let's see. The Panthers are the league's worst team in expected points allowed when defending against the run at minus 14.4 points. And they're facing Miami, whose offense ranks second in expected points allowed at 16.8. So they're just going to run it down the throats with this guy. If Mostert doesn't get 2 touchdowns, I have a feeling it's going to mirror that Frisco game when McCaffrey had 4 touchdowns. I just did 2. I think Mostert has a chance to get 3 as well. Another interesting stat about this game is that the Dolphins have right now 2,568 yards of offense. That's the most in NFL history through the first 5 games. They only need
Suck it,
480.
greatest show on turf.
They only need 489 yards to beat Kurt Warner's 2,000 Rams record through 6 games, which was at 3,056 yards. So I don't think the teams are looking at those records and trying to beat that. But if you look at how well Miami has done historically through the first 5 games this year, they can easily get 500 yards of offense against Carolina.
I think one thing that's really telling in that touchdown prop is Raheem Mostert 3 touchdowns is at plus 1,000. That is an incredibly low line.
Yeah, and
for 3 touchdowns
and 250 for 2. It's just like
yeah.
McCaffrey was plus 200 when I bet him 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
for 2. They're just gonna run it down the throats. If the receiving game of Miami does anything, I'm staying away from the lines. I might bet the receptions. Like I like Jalen Waddle's 4.5. Tyreek Hill 6.5. But one really spicy one is Thielen, like we talked earlier, at 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina's going to have to throw in order to stay competitive with this offense. But this week my same game parlay is from this game. So I've got a Mostert anytime touchdown. I took Thielen's over 5.5 receptions. I took Mostert's over at 77.5. I might even go and look later at what his alternate line of over 100 is, maybe. But and then I took Tua over 1.5 pass touchdowns. So those 4 props all together is plus 521. I put 5 units down to win a little over $30.
So Raheem Mostert plus 100 is at plus 178.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I had for this game.
Okay. Raheem Mostert is one of my smash DFS plays this week. He's gonna crush. I like Thielen. I like your Thielen play. You know, Adam Thielen over the last 4 weeks, his target share is 29%.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
And that's a team that's still dropping back to pass in the high 30s. So that's 10 targets. Hello.
Yeah.
So I want to point out some Raheem Mostert stuff. Miami this week, according to any source you've seen, not even independent of the running backs, it's just offensive line versus defensive line in the run game. They have the biggest like defensive adjusted advantage, blocking advantage in the trenches. Um, if you so fantasy points has, like I said, this like adjusted for defense metric, and Miami this week in adjusted yards before contact per attempt is 3 yards.
Good God.
3 yards. 3 yards before
That's
contact per
madness.
attempt. And Mostert is seventh in the NFL in yards before contact per carry at 2.34.
Yeah.
um, I wanted to point out also, by the way, I wanted to kind of push back a little bit on the Jalen Waddle week because any week could be a Jalen Waddle week because he's that good.
Yeah.
But Carolina is sixth most in zone usage, zone defense, and Tyreek is number one in football in fantasy points per route run against zone coverage. All right, so he averages 1.05 fantasy points for every route that he runs against zone.
What?
So I
So if
just
you
did
run, go ahead.
if you look at the screen right now, I'm throwing it a plus 150 yards rushing for Mostert and to score 2 touchdowns. Because if he gets 3 yards before contact, that means Mostert's gone. So I'm going this dollar. Actually, you know what? I'm doing this with 3 touchdowns for the hell of it because
what's plus 150?
plus
I
150
can't.
is plus 750. A $1 bet for 150 rushing yards.
So this to me,
Nice.
I pulled out a bunch of the money that I had in my Yahoo account because DFS is a money pit. But
Yeah.
I sent this to Wally last night, so I put in like a $50 lineup. I used my last $50 on one lineup, and I'm like, I don't fucking care.
What?
Let's party. Yeah, and my lineup has Tua, Mostert, and Tyreek in it. I'm just Dolphins
Oh
overloading.
God! Holy shit!
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah, this
So
conversation, like I was going back and forth. I didn't really like his rushing over, but I decided I don't mind a little mini ladder play for Mostert. He's earned that from me.
I'd say, all right, let's move on. We got Minnesota coming to Chicago, a rainy Chicago. Minnesota are 3-point road favorites. Chicago upset at home is plus 132 on the money line, and the total's 43.5. Ryan, what do you got?
All right, let me tell you why this game has another one of my top 5 bets of the week. I'm smashing the over at 43.5, and here's why. All right, both these teams are really good on offense right now. You wouldn't think it with the Vikings with their record, but they're putting up a lot of offensive numbers. Cousins is like number 2 in quarterbacks for passing yards. Fields has thrown for 617 yards in the last 2 games alone.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Cousins has the second most pass yards at 1,498. DJ Moore right now ranks 5th among wide receivers with 531 yards. Jefferson is not playing, but he is number 3 with 571. Let's look at and I said this during the offseason too in our podcast too, Tony. Like the Vikings were so good last year in 1-score games. They were 11-0 last year in 1-score games. This year they're 1-4. I told you that was going to happen this year in the offseason. And luckily for the Bears, this game's going to be high scoring. They give up the 3rd most points to running backs, but luckily Minnesota doesn't have much of a run game. And if we look at the overs for both these teams, all 5 of the Bears games this year have gone over on the points, and the Vikings are 4-1 on overs and have gone over on their last 3 straight. So they only missed the second week going over. So that bodes well for the over, which is kind of low, I think, for this game, especially the way these 2 teams are offensively playing and their defenses are letting up points. I'm really liking. Sorry, here to pull back up the lines. I'm really liking a Justin Fields touchdown. I really like Hawkinson's anything to do with Hawkinson this game. I'm betting his over on receptions at 5.5. His receiving yards are at 54.5. That seems low for this game, especially without Justin Jefferson. One thing we did discuss last night on the podcast is how Jordan Addison, you might want to fade this week. He could be a little bit of a trap. And I'm sure Tony's got some numbers on that to talk about later. But yeah, this game's gonna be a barn burner. I think something like 37-30 or something like that. And that's coming from a Bears fan optimism, but bet the over on this game for sure. It's gonna be higher scoring than you think.
Okay, Waleed.
I got to point out, I'm actually really mad. I had the over and the Bears money line parlay. One of the reasons I know both of you guys, I know that Tony had I'll let Tony say that bet when he gets to it. But I liked the Bears money line because you know what? I believe in Justin Fields, and I also believe that the Bears offense is pretty damn good. I think the over is a smash. And the thing that drives me nuts is when I got the over at 46 and now it's at 43.5, it just keeps dropping. And I don't know why. Because
Weather.
I know why, but it's still, I don't believe it. You know what? I do kind of believe it. Anyway, here's the line that is killing me right now. Justin Fields at 191.5. Like his passing line, he's in 4 of his 5 games, he's thrown for over 200 yards. He's dropping back significantly more than he did last year.
And as I said earlier, he's averaging over 300 yards the past 2 games. He's getting his shit together.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest smash plays is that like Justin Fields passing over. The other thing is I agree with you on Jordan Addison being a trap. I think that KJ Osborne receiving line at 42.5 though is one of the smashiest of smash plays. It is so low and for some unknown reason, because Jordan Addison should be the obvious over, but they want to give KJ Osborne the ball. I don't know why, but Minnesota likes targeting him a lot. And if you look at his splits, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can tell you pretty confidently when Justin Jefferson is not in the game, KJ Osborne gets a lot of the workload. That's just something that offense does because that offense is dumb. I also think TJ Hawkinson's over at 54.5 is a sneaky value too, because he might end up being the true number one receiver and a beneficiary. Those are the lines that really stand out to me.
Okay, I have quite a bit of money riding on this game. First off, I'd like to establish that I think this is a Vikings win. Not that Bears fans that believe that the Bears are going to win are inherently stupid, but here's the thing: I'm stupid because I'm a Bears fan, but I'm not a stupid Bears fan. All right.
Yep.
So, I think Minnesota's exploitable. I do like the over. I think there's a good chance that the Fields passing over could hit. DJ Moore breaks one tackle and we're done here.
Yep.
But I want to take you back to last year, my friends. The Matt Eberflus system is a soft zone coverage defensive system.
Cover 2.
Yeah, they use a myriad of coverage schemes, but like the Bears play a soft zone defense. Last year, I don't know if you guys recall, but when the Bears played the Vikings, Kirk Cousins completed his first 17 passes.
Wow.
I do remember that, and I hated it.
And none of those passes were considered tight window passes. All right, so I did post something in the general chat in the Discord, and Deku's referring to it about Kevin O'Connell trying to stop his team from fumbling by hitting them with a large stick during practice and telling Alexander Madison, this is all your fault. But I think without Justin Jefferson, you don't have that speed element to go over the top like you do with him. Jordan Addison's a burner, but Jordan Addison is not a contested catch burner like Justin Jefferson is. So I think this is going to be a slow, like a ball control type game. So one of my top 5 bets of the week this week is Kirk Cousins over 23.5 completions, because I think if the weather sucks, short completions against the defense that's actually done a lot better against the run than last year. I see a lot of Cousins completions, and my millionaire bet this week is TJ Hawkinson, but it's not his yardage over. It's the over on 5.5 receptions.
Oh
I
yeah.
managed to get that at minus 102, and I've been burned by TJ Hawkinson a couple times this year on betting lines, but I think now with um, with Jefferson out, I think a lot of those targets, those medium range targets, are gonna go to TJ Hawkinson. I see the backs getting a lot of catches, and I see the tight ends getting a lot of catches, especially if this is a weather game where your offense can't run. This is a short pass masterpiece. So
Sure.
Bears are going to play a lot of zone. Cousins going to find a lot of people for 6 yard gains. And I really think you guys, Kirk Cousins is completing 27 passes a game. But if the run game can't work and the weather kind of sucks, I think there's a chance that Kirk Cousins hits 24 completions by the end of the third quarter if it's competitive.
I think
Yeah.
so too.
I
I
think
think
all
it's a solid
this
bet.
I think all this rain we've been getting the last few days in the Chicagoland area is going to be moving out later today. So it's not supposed to rain tomorrow. It's going to be a little chilly, low 50s. And there's going to be like a 15-mile-an-hour wind. So the weather might not be that bad, but
Okay, let's hope so. All
yeah.
right, so anything else before we go, gentlemen?
No, I think that pretty much covers me.
All
I will
right.
say one thing I want to point out is if you guys remember, I was doing those Justin Fields parlays, and the
Oh yeah.
first week on Thursday that I did not do it because that Denver game broke me. Like I had a bad week, and then like emotionally, and I was just like, I can't, I didn't do it. And that was the week if I had done the Bears over money line, Fields over passing and rushing, I would have finally like come down on that and probably gotten a good payout. I'm so
Oh
mad
wow.
at myself.
Such is life. All right, moving on.
Yes,
We have the Colts going to Jacksonville. I think this is the first time this year where division teams are playing their opponent for the second time
I think
this
so too.
season.
Yeah.
So we've got Jacksonville are 4.5 point home favorites. Colts upset is plus 168 on the money line, and the total's 44.5. Waleed, start us off.
So the first thing I want to point out here, the Trevor Lawrence passing over here, pretty solid play. That line,
It is.
like his line at 254 is really low considering just how bad this pass defense.
It's
Yeah.
below
I
his
also,
season average too.
huh?
It's right at his season average.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some real value on it. But the play that I like the most in this game, um, you know what? I'm not going to say it because I already know that one of someone else is going to say it, and it's one of my favorite bets. It just missed the cutoff for my top 5 bet of the week. Actually, there are 2 plays that I really liked here, and they're taken by one of them. Each of you has one of them. So I'm going to point out one other bet, though, actually, that I don't think either of you put in your bets. Evan Ingram over 42.5 is a solid play this week. Like, it's
It
a
is.
good
Yeah.
matchup for him. And it's one of the reasons why the other receiver didn't make my top 5 bet of the week. It's because I worry that they're going to eat into each other. But if I had to pick one, I would pick Ryan's guy, which I will maybe let him talk about now.
Sure.
So you agree.
Um So one of my top 5 bets of the week in this game is the Kirk over um, 63.5 yards in this game. I agree with Waleed. Lawrence is going to torch this Colts pass defense. The Colts right now are giving up the 9th most fantasy points to wide receivers. Um, and I like Ingram too. As I pointed out earlier, he and Zay Flowers are the only players with 29 catches to not have a touchdown yet in the league. And the Colts use zone coverage at the 10th highest rate in the NFL right now. Don't think too much into Jonathan Taylor with all the drama that's been going on with this year. With what Zach Moss did last year, I know they just paid Taylor a bunch of money, but you'd be stupid to not roll with someone who had over 100 yards rushing last week.
Against the Titans.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And Titans are better than the Jags a little bit. They're not too much better, but right now the Jags are only giving up 81.6 yards per game to the rush. That's 5th in the NFL. Um, I'm foreseeing a Jags win. I'm not messing with the spread or the over under. Um, really, all I like is Kirk to continue his dominance on this Jaguars offense and to get hopefully close to 100 yards, maybe over 100 yards. Um, and that's all I got really on this Minshew revenge game.
It's true. It is a revenge game. I want to point out, actually, Ryan, Indy actually plays zone at the highest rate in the league. But
Really?
they're terrible per PFF. It could be wrong.
Oh yeah, they do.
Per per PFF, they're bottom 10 in coverage grade, and they're also bottom 10 in yards per coverage snap. So yeah, that defensive backfield is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Kirk and Ridley both have the exact same target rate versus zone. They both have a 19.5% target rate against zone, but as of, this week, because of his awesomeness over the last few weeks, Kirk has a higher fantasy points per route run and PFF receiving grade against zone. And now that they're working him back in, his snap share being up, he's still dominant. I like that line. I think that line's good. But let me tell you what I think Wally was talking about. One of my
Yeah.
top 5 bets of the week. It is a short king week. We already have Zay Flowers love. Now we're gonna hop over and start talking a little bit about my man Josh Downs.
Yeah, I like
Yes.
his reception over at 3.5. He's been eating up.
Josh Downs over 45 and a half receiving yards is one of my top 5 plays of the week. I have it in multiple places. Um, I have it on FanDuel at 45 and a half. I have it on Sleeper at 44 and a half. Doesn't matter. Josh Downs is averaging 4.6 catches a game for 51 yards.
Yeah.
Last week he went 6 of 6 for 97 yards. Um, in games and plays, anytime Gardner Minshew is at quarterback, his per game average Downs is 6 or more catches, 55 or more receiving yards, and a 25% target share.
And he's averaging about 7 targets per game on the season. So
That's correct. And so that number's going to go up for a whole Minshew game. We're going against the Jacksonville defense, which actually is still a top 10 defense in terms of yardage given to opposing receivers.
mhm.
I think there's room for both Pittman and Downs to feast, and with that number being so low, Downs is great. He's a guy also, by the way, for like Deku who's listening for DFS purposes. He's stupid cheap this week, and
Yeah.
and so you're chasing touchdowns when you're playing DFS, but at the same time, like if I get a guy for 5,900 and he gets me 8 for 80, I'm fine with that. That's putting me ahead of the curve. So
Yes, it is.
Josh Downs, I wanted to point out this last night on the podcast, but I got a little too high and forgot. Most NFL wide receivers are 6 foot, 200 pounds. Zay Flowers and Josh Downs are both 5'9". Flowers is 182 pounds. Downs is 172. So if you add them together, they are 6 inches and 36 pounds shorter than the average NFL receiver. But it's still a short king week.
Nice.
All right,
I'm here for it.
let's move on. I'm saying.
And both of those guys run incredibly good routes. They know how to get themselves open.
Yep. So let's move on. We got Saints Texans here. We got the Saints going to Houston. Saints are 1.5 point road favorites. Houston home win would be plus 108 on the money line, and the total's 42.5. Waleed, since you were so kind last time to open up the floor to us, what do you got?
Honestly, in this game, I don't think I have a lot. The Alvin Kamara line I find interesting because his numbers keep dropping. Like he opened at 66.5, and now he's at 62.5. And this Houston defense is susceptible to running backs. At the same time, I don't feel strongly enough about the line to take it. I think that Kamara receiving over is really interesting at 27.5. But
Yeah.
honestly, I'm kind of hesitant to like invest in receiving overs if I can help it. On
Game
the other
script.
side of the ball, Nico Collins, I, I don't like his line, but I like Nico Collins from for a DFS standpoint. I think
Should.
Yeah, so the Saints the Saints have gone under their total points in 11 straight games.
I believe it.
They're tied with the 2003 Bills for the longest such streak in 35 seasons.
That's
Is
real
that bad?
fascinating
Sounds
too.
bad. Sounds bad.
So yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna bet the under on this game.
I mean, that's a good line to chase. Honestly, I don't really feel it. I think Damian Pierce is a sneaky value play in DFS. He's been solid the last couple of weeks for his price. In he's it's just good enough, but at the same time, I don't know because it's a good matchup, and I still don't like that offensive line. I don't think there's any real value in this game outside of the under, so I'm probably going to fade it overall.
All right.
Oh, 57
Nico
and a half.
Collins, 57 and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's but he's gonna be playing. He's going up against man coverage, and he's the kind of guy who can beat man coverage. So it's a good enough matchup, but I don't think the value is there. There are better spots to get value.
I think so.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, take it away.
Guess who's gonna throw their first career interception this week?
Taysom Hill.
No, CJ Stroud, and I might even get a little spicy and throw some money on a New Orleans defense touchdown.
How dare you disrespect CJ Stroud?
It's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen in a big way. Why not be a pick six? You know,
You're unbelievable. The minute you become vice count, you're suddenly a CJ Stroud hater.
the Saints got 7 interceptions already this year.
No, the Saints defense is legit.
Yeah. Let's see. I like Kamara's anything with Kamara this week. The Texans defense is allowing the 7th most fantasy points to running backs. And if you want to throw some money on a Kamara anytime touchdown, he's actually only 2 away from tying Mark Ingram for the franchise record of rushing touchdowns, which is at 50, I think.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have too much on this game because I think it's going to be kind of a shit show. It's going to be real low scoring, I think. Bet the under.
Okay. I want to point out a couple different things. I want to argue with Waleed about Damian Pierce and Nico Collins real quick.
Okay.
New Orleans has only allowed 62 rushing yards per game. And
Okay.
Houston has a 35% red zone touchdown rate. That is third worst in the league. So I think I was really tempted to find a Damian Pierce under, but I'm afraid that since there's going to be no fucking scoring in this game, he's going to get 18, 19 carries, right? So I think I would be more interested in a Damian Pierce rushing over than a Damian Pierce DFS just because I don't think he's going to get, if he scores a touchdown, it's still going to be, he's going to get you 12 fucking FanDuel points.
I,
You know
I
that he
want to
has
point. I'd
go
like to
ahead.
point out I think there's some value to him, but I also have 0 DFS shares of Damian Pierce. There's just some things that kind of like caught my eye.
And Damian
So
Pierce has only gone over an 8% target share one time this year, by the way. So the one thing that I want to point out, I'm looking at this game because it's a Nico Collins thing. Strength versus strength, man. Like Nico Collins is 4th in the league in fantasy points per route run against man coverage. Like we're talking like Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill type numbers. But New Orleans plays man at the second highest rate, and they're one of the best zone defenses in football, or the best
yep.
man defenses in football.
Oh yeah, Marshawn Lattimore's the truth.
So if Nico Collins can perform this week, then he's a guy that you're like, well, you never take him out of your lineup, right? I mean,
I think that's a good statement.
and a lot of us are already there with Nico Collins, and I get it because he's produced, but he's also been pretty uneven, right? So if he can produce against it where his strength goes up against the opposing team's strength, I think there's less of a justification for you to ever, take him
Is
out.
he a second or third year player?
Nico?
Yeah.
3.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on. We've got Seattle going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati are 2.5-point home favorites. A Seattle road win is plus 126, and the line's 45.5. Ryan, take them away. Waleed, take them away.
Ryan, where did he go? Man down. So this is actually a game that I like, so I'm very happy to talk about it because it's got a couple of players I really love. It also has one of my top 5 bets of the week, and that bet is Jamar Chase over 86.5 receiving yards. I got that line at Rivers because the line on FanDuel for Jamar Chase receiving over is at 90 over here. So I like getting 4 points shaved off of that number. I absolutely love the receiving over for Jamar Chase this week. Also, a very big fan on the on his quarterback at 268.5, Joe Burrow.
Yep.
This is a really, really strong matchup for him. One thing too that because Tony mentioned it, I went and looked at the offensive line, defensive line matchup, and the rush and pass grade for the Seattle offense. This is a really Cincinnati's offensive line has problems, but lucky for them, Seattle's defense is straight trash.
Yes.
So this is where and I think the reason I faded Burrow last week was because I did not because the way he got destroyed by Tennessee made me hesitant. But at the same time, Tennessee's got a really good defensive line. And last week we saw against Arizona when they couldn't really generate pressure that Burrow destroyed them. And this week he should see more of the same with that Seattle defense. So Burrow's over is a pretty solid play. On the other side of the football too, another one of my top 5 bets of the week. We got my boy Kenneth Walker over 66.5 rushing yards. This is my number one running back play of the week. So I'm absolutely excited at this, and that's I'm trying to think if there's anything else I like in this game, but I mean I got 2 top 5 bets of the week in this game, so I feel like that should be
good.
enough.
Pretty
Yeah.
good. Ryan, what do you got for Seattle and Cincy?
Don't ever leave us again, Ryan.
Sorry, nature calls.
I'm just teasing you, man.
So the Seahawks defense gives up the second most points to wide receiver. So I like Jamar Chase's reception line at 7.5. I mean, he doubled that last week, so let's get that done. I don't know if I'm gonna bet the 90.5 yards that he's at right now, but I like his reception prop. They're gonna have to throw to him. Higgins is still out, right?
Higgins is questionable, but he's got broken ribs, which makes it kind of hard to feel good about that.
So I'd bet that. I'd bet a Chase touchdown. I do like Walker this week. The only one thing I can say that could bode well for Seattle is they have one of the best pass rush rates in the NFL, somewhere around 55%, and Burrow struggles against pressure. He's got when he's playing against pressure, he's averaging only 3.1 yards per attempt, a completion rate of 36.4%, and a QB rating of 10.7. So this could be an interesting game, but I think Cincinnati's kind of got their stuff together after last week. Whatever it is, Burrow's either starting to feel better from his injury, but I like the Burrow to Chase connection this week. So anything with them, go ahead and bet. I love it. Not going to bet the spread. Not going to bet the over under.
So I want to jump back on a couple things because I didn't. I feel like I just kind of left Kenneth Walker to the side here, and I want to point out also the Zach Charbonnet line at 21.5 because they just posted that rushing over today. If he gets 5 carries, he should get it because they're giving up. Seattle's or Cincinnati's defense is giving up over 5 yards a carry to running backs. This is a strong matchup in that regard, and the other thing that's worth noting is I do actually have because FanDuel gives you profit boosts for the 1 o'clock slate, the 3 o'clock slate, the night slate, like all those slates, and I've been doing my like receiver boosts on that. So I took the receiving over, the reception over, and a single touchdown for Jamar Chase, and then I boosted that thing. So I'm pretty excited about that because I think this is a Jamar Chase game very much.
Hell yeah.
Ryan, you still have anything else?
No, go ahead, Tony.
Okay, cool. This is I actually got Sleepers got a promo on Jamar Chase right now at 72.5. I love it.
So good.
Um, I want to point out that yeah, Seattle's offensive line versus Cincinnati's defensive line for rushing purposes is a top 10 play this week. One of so essentially like I have three running backs that I'm fitting into every single one of my DFS builds this week, and one of them's Kenneth Walker, which is why his over at 66.5 is one of my top 5 bets of the week. Like you look for mispriced numbers, right? So Ken Walker is averaging 70 rushing yards a game. Cincinnati is giving up on average 107 rushing yards a game, and his line is 66.5. Make it make sense.
Right.
Or better yet,
Like,
make us make money.
And like that's the whole point of this thing, right? Is like we can't see the future, so all we can do is look and see where Vegas might have made an oversight. So I have Walker everywhere. Walker is one of my 3 running backs of the Armageddon that I'm playing in every single lineup this week that I doesn't matter if how expensive it is. So that's one of my bets of the week. So
I
let's
want to
move on.
point out. I want to point out too. I need to go back and track this, but I've noticed that when Tony and I both have the same guy as a top 5 bet of the week, that usually hits at a
I
really
think it's
high
when
rate.
any two of us
Yeah.
three are agreeing on a guy. It's a hit. It's a hit.
Yep.
Um, so let's take a look at a game that I'm sure we'll see on Red Zone exactly one time. Um, we have the McDaniel's Bowl and the Jacoby Myers revenge game. Patriots at Raiders. The Raiders are 2.5 point home favorites. The Patriots are plus 136 on the money line, and the total's 41.5. Waleed, start us off.
I You cannot pay me to bet on this game. I will say this. What I think is going to play out to the New England Patriots money line at plus 136. I think has some sneaky value because the New England Patriots are going to destroy them. And frankly, I kind of one thing I want to look at here is what are the anytime touchdowns here? A nice fun bet might be New England defensive touchdown at plus 900 because I think the Patriots defense is going to come out here and also the New England Patriots defense is my favorite defensive play of the week for DFS. The
Yep.
Raiders are terrible. Bill Belichick knows how to scheme against Josh McDaniel, and like this just feels, and they just got embarrassed. Like they're going to come out angry.
Yep.
Also, Vegas on a short week.
All right. Anything else?
Honestly, no. I do think this is a get right game for Ramondre. I've been trying to trade for Ramondre on the cheap because he's had an awful slate of matchups, and I feel like at some point Belichick's going to realize that you should start throwing to him again.
You might have a chance to trade for him after this week, Waleed.
Oh,
All right.
I guess.
Ryan, what do you got?
Um, yeah, I'm in agreement. I think this is one of the least interesting games of the week. Some really quick things to point out. New England only has 2 takeaways on the season. Ouch. So they're gonna need to get a third to get that defensive touchdown per Waleed. And the Raiders defense has actually done pretty well the last 6 quarters, giving up only 13 points and forcing 4 turnovers. So maybe their defense is a little bit on an uptick coming into this game. They did not open the season well at all. And only reason I think Vegas is going to win this game is because Josh McDaniels is 2-0 against Belichick and seeks to become the only other coach outside of Mr. Dave Wanstead as the only coach to defeat Bill Belichick in each of their 3 first meetings.
Interesting. Okay.
I like
Anything
it.
else?
I like it. It's spicy.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I don't have anything on this game.
Okay. One of the plays that I have for the article that's going to be posted on Football Absurdity here in a little bit is I love the under at 41.5 in this game. I fucking love the under. Like has been brought up, Josh McDaniels is a Bill Belichick disciple, and he ran the offense for a lot of those years, a lot of those Tom Brady years. Um, that's the problem, right? If you're trying to take a bunch of players from your former coach, is like when you play your former coach, they know everything. Jimmy Garoppolo, Bill Belichick knows Jimmy Garoppolo. Bill Belichick knows Jacoby Myers. Bill Belichick knows Josh McDaniels. And so I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to be consistent. I think you still can't stop Devontae Adams, but I'm not putting money on him in any way whatsoever. I also wanted to point out to you, this is pretty funny. Um, New England in the red zone scores a touchdown on 62% of their trips. That's really good. That's eighth in the league. But
Wow.
New England over the last 3 games has a 0% touchdown percentage in the red zone. Zero, like not one. And that's part two. Um, they don't get there very often. And also, I wanted to point out throughout all of their games, they have not scored a red zone touchdown away from Gillette Stadium this year.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I'm taking the under on this game. It's not one of my top 5 bets of the week, but it's one of my top 5 like gamble lines of the week. I do love the under at 41.5 here. All right, let's never speak of this game again. Um, Next up, we've got Detroit going to Tampa Bay. Detroit are 3-point road favorites. A Tampa Bay upset at home is plus 138, and the line's 42.5. Ryan, start us off.
All right. One of the things that's pissing me off about these last few weeks with the lines for the Detroit Lions is they wait till like 2 hours before the game to post anything for Laporta. There are no lines for Laporta right now. No
Well, that's
receiving
part of that was
yards
because
and no receptions.
part of that is because um oh
Well,
no,
you're
you're right.
so right. Yeah, so you'll post K Dotton lines, but you won't post one of the best tight ends in the
Well,
NFL right
I
now.
think part of it was because he didn't practice yesterday. He was kind of hurt,
He's
so they're not sure if he's
yeah,
going to
yeah,
play.
that's true. Well, he said he expects to play, but
But the Amon Ra line
true.
is up. So,
He's back, yeah.
but I want to also point out that he said that he's going to play, but players always say they're going to play.
Yeah, that's
Players
true.
players are the
Well,
most optimistic when it comes to their
well,
status.
he said it was like a calf injury that like got re-aggravated Wednesday during practice, and he just sat out Thursday so it could heal up a little bit better.
And I
I
think
don't
he'll
think
get up there.
I don't think it was anything serious.
Would
So
Waleed, would you
he-
say that a player's going to play?
I would say that players going to play,
Okay,
play, 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 play.
um,
fair enough.
I do like a Montgomery anytime touchdown this week. The Lions' offense is averaging almost 30 points a game, and a lot of that comes from Montgomery's 6 or 7 touchdowns that he has already this year. Um,
He's got
although,
6 touchdowns.
although Tampa is only allowing 379 rush yards this year, this could be the outlier game where Tampa's defense could fall back to earth to how we thought it would start in the season. I'm still flabbergasted that the Bucks are leading the NFC South right now. It's surprising to me. Um, yeah.
Oh, Ryan
Uh,
touched on something I can't wait to talk about.
um, Jamison Williams, I think, is going to get more involved this week. He only had 2 catches last week, but he was involved in almost 50% of the snaps. So that was good. Um, but there are no lines for him, obviously, because no one knows what to expect out of him yet. One thing I do like for Montgomery is that no Lions running back has ever rushed for 100 or more yards in 3 consecutive games since Mr. Barry Sanders in 1998, and he's got a chance to do that this week. Uh, yeah, right, right. I do like the Lions -3 to cover. The Lions are 27 and 12 against the spread under Dan Campbell, and that's the best in the NFL. And they are 4-1 against the spread with 3 straight covers right now. So I will probably, if I do a Lions and Bucks parlay, I'll probably throw the spread in there. But yeah, I just like Montgomery, and when those Laporta lines come up, I'll bet those too. But hopefully, he's okay. I'm thinking his reception line will be somewhere around 4.5. I don't think they're gonna make it as high as 5.5. And his
Not with
yardage,
Amon-Ra back.
yeah, and his yardage total will be somewhere around 50, 54, something like that. So, yeah, hopefully those lines come out, and hopefully he's okay. Um, But yeah, this game's gonna be fun tomorrow.
Okay, Waleed.
So you brought up something about how like Tampa Bay's giving up the 8th or 9th fewest rushing yards. But here's a interesting stat that if you look closer at that line, they are also have the second fewest rushing attempts against them. If you look at them
Oh,
on a
really?
per average basis, they're giving up 4.9 yards per carry. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm going to tell you right now, the David Montgomery probably projects to have 22 rushing attempts. He should crack 100 yards, and I think that's a sneaky bet. The David Montgomery over is a strong play, and
Sure.
it is a really good one. I also think was looking at the Rashad White over, but I can't make myself take it because the Detroit Lions defense has been pretty
Yeah.
damn good against the
Yeah.
run. Honestly, like David Montgomery's rushing over is the play I like the most in this game.
Okay.
And that
Anything
what's
else?
that was
No,
at what is it?
78 and a half.
78. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but honestly, if he gets 20 carries, he should hit 100 yards pretty easily.
Yeah, that's a little over 4 yards a carry.
Yep.
Yep. It's funny you should mention this earlier, Ryan. I actually, in some of my DFS lineups where I'm really, really trying to pay up at other positions, and like to the point where like I'm stuck between a couple different guys, I actually don't mind at that same tier of like Logan Thomas. I don't mind Kate Otten this week.
No.
Kate
Um,
Otten has a solid matchup, I think.
he does. Tampa Bay gives up the second most yards to tight ends, and they haven't
No.
even faced any great tight ends yet.
Detroit
Um,
gives up the
yeah,
second most points to Titans. Oh, okay.
not
Yeah.
points, but yardage,
We
purely
are.
yardage.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Kate Otten's yardage prop is 26.5. So
Yeah.
I don't mind it, but I also like he's a pivot for me. So that's just something that I was kicking around in my own head because I'm stupid. All right, ready
Yeah.
to move
So I
on?
want to point out, like, the Lions are giving up an average of 7 yards per targets, and Kate Otten's getting about 4 targets a game.
Yep.
So, like, that line is right over there where it's interesting. And I mean, I think what was it? What were they on a touchdown basis too? I feel like they give up. You know what? They aren't giving up as many touchdowns actually to the tight end position. So I don't know, but Kate Otten is a nice cheap pivot in DFS. Like I have him in a couple of lineups also.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I'm sure we're gonna have plenty to talk about in this game. We've got Arizona going to the Rams. The Rams are 7-point home favorites. A Cardinals upset on the money lines plus 270, and the line's 48.5. Ryan, start us off.
Um, I think this is going to be a LA Rams win. I'm hesitant to bet the spread, even though the Rams are 5-0-1 against the spread this season. Or no, sorry, 5-0 against the spread this season. It's at -7. If it was at 6.5, I'd probably bet it. But this game could be decided by a 7-point touchdown. Anything with receiving yards, um, you pick whichever one you want. Cup, Nakua, their receptions. Stafford is averaging 290.2 pass yards per game this year, and Arizona's defense allows the 7th most points to wide receivers and the 3rd most to quarterbacks. So I think Stafford's gonna get better this week, and it's just gonna be the Rams all day.
Okay.
I don't know if I like any of these Arizona lines. There aren't very many. Obviously, Connor's out, so it's going to be a committee. But DeMarcado is supposed to take most of the, probably a 60 or 70% share in that committee. Um, and that only bodes well for them. I mean, they're probably going to do better in the run this week. The Rams, let's see, they gave up 159 rush yards to Philly last week, but that is Philly's run game, who is a little bit better. I don't think Arizona has too much of a chance in this game after how we saw Cup come back and really seem like he didn't miss any time. So Rams all week, baby.
Okay. Waleed.
So this is definitely a game I'm going to talk about a lot because it's got my same game parlay and 2 of my top 5 bets of the week. Last week I bet the Matt Stafford passing over, and I did not hit. And the reason I did not hit was because the Eagles had a great game plan. Their game plan was basically, we're not going to let the Rams offense on the field. And it's very hard to get yards when you don't get that. I got lucky with Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup getting their receiving overs. So I was able to hit in other places, but that bet did not come through for me. This week, though, they are playing an Arizona Cardinals team that doesn't have the defense to do what the Eagles did. And this is one of the biggest smash plays. 2 of my top 5 bets of the week. Matt Stafford passing over 277.5 is a smash play. And Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup, both of those receiving overs are great. But I'm taking Cooper Cup because, well, he's Cooper Cup. And this team against zone, like hold on, let me get to that stat here because I want to point out that the Los Angeles Rams they play uh zone at the 9th highest rate, and both Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup destroy zone coverage. I have my same game parlay as Puka Nakua receiving over, Cooper Cup receiving over, and the Matt Stafford receiving passing over. Reason if you'll notice in my same game parlays, I always like to have the outcomes kind of all factoring into each other. Because if Matt Stafford throws for 280 passing yards, there's a good chance that Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua are going to hit their receiving overs,
Yeah.
which gives me a really good chance of hitting. At 5
Right.
units, I'm getting plus 550. I'm paying out 32.53, and I just think this is one of the smash plays of the week. I'm so in on this parlay. Cooper Cup is my favorite receiver of the week.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forgot to add that one of my top 5 bets of the week too is also the Stafford over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Oh, that's true. Oh, and I haven't made that bet yet. Why don't I just do that right now? Because I like to make the bets that my guys make.
I'm in on this game as well.
Yeah.
But you guys got anything else?
No, go ahead.
Cool beans. I got a bunch
I
of
do not like that price.
I had Cup at 86.5 receiving yards on one of my sleeper parlays. But I decided to put in a same game parlay earlier today for $5 at plus 346. I've got Cup's alternate reception line at 7 plus, Nakua's alternate reception line at 6 plus, and the Rams money line. And using the little afternoon boost that you get on FanDuel, I got that up to plus 346. So
Okay.
$5 would give me 22.30. Um, look, rain, shine, or whatever, Cup and Nakua are gonna get theirs. They're both gonna get 8 catches.
Right.
So if the Rams manage to win and that comes out, I end up with 22.30, which is wonderful. Um, I love Cup this week. I think Cup is also it's a smash play for sure. I also another guy that I think if you're really trying to pivot and you want some real light ownership for a guy that might get you 12 points, Michael Wilson for the Cardinals. Not gonna lie to
Oh
you.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, can I tell you? So the Rams are a top 10 zone team. They have the worst PFF defensive grade when in zone. And Michael Wilson is actually top 10 in the league in fantasy points per in route run versus zone.
Ooh,
Really?
that's an interesting stat.
Yep, Michael Wilson. The Rams give up the 6th most receiving yards to receivers. I think Like Arizona's got a great rushing matchup, but I don't believe in Keontae Ingram or DeMarcado. So I still think this game's got high scoring potential. You look at like a 48.5 point total. I think both Rams receivers are going to get theirs, and I think Michael. This may shock you. This may shock you. Doctors hate this one trick. So
Football?
that's we're out here like
Okay.
you can call me Mr. Moderna.
But before we say anything, what does RFK have to say about it? Like, I'm not
Whenever
making any medical choices until I talk to that lawyer.
I heard he's running
whenever
for president.
Yep. Whenever I think about the world, I'm always like, what does RFK have to say about this? All right, so let's move on. We're getting closer and closer here. This is the last afternoon slate game of the week. We have Philly going to the Jets. The Jets are 6.5 point home underdogs, and the money line for Jets upsets plus 260, and the line's 41.5. So, Waleed, start us off.
Honestly, I don't know if I had a lot in this game here. I saw that you got a sneak peek in what Ryan's going to do because I noticed that was one of his bets, and I've been waiting to get to that point to make my bet there. I'm looking at this game here, and honestly, I'm not really feeling strongly enough about anything to place a bet on this game. I think this is a game that I'm just kind of going to fade.
Okay, Ryan.
Sorry, I'm going to be boring here.
No, that's cool.
Okay. This game has one of my top 5 bets of the week. I think that the Eagles have a more likelier chance to win by a touchdown or two. So that's why one of my top 5 of the bets of the week is Philly minus 6.5 against the spread.
Love it.
I will put money down on a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Minus 115 seems pretty low for him, especially when the Jets defense is allowing the second most rush yards to opposing quarterbacks this season, 163. Hurts has 155, or not 150, has 55 rushes. That's the most rushes by a quarterback for 206 yards and 4 touchdowns. So I'm definitely putting money on a Jalen Hurts touchdown. Let's see. There's not too much to talk about the Jets. The Jets are the only team in the league that averages more yards per rush play than pass. They allowed more. Their average is 5.4 per rush play, and then their pass is 5 yards even. Another reason I'm really all over this spread is that the Eagles are 12-0 outright against the Jets. The Jets have never won against the Eagles. And
Ever? Like in the history of Jets football?
That's what it says.
That's insane.
And
also, that sounds like the most Jet stat line I've ever heard.
And the Eagles are 11-1 against the spread all time against the Jets with 6 straight covers. So,
yep, Jets are 0-12. Yep.
Good God.
So, yeah, definitely.
So the Jets are the Jets against the Eagles, is what you're saying.
Definitely bet Philly on the spread minus 6.5. I'm surprised it's not more like 10 or 9.5. I think 6.5 is pretty low for this game, especially how the Eagles have been playing lately, and with what I just said about the Jets defense. Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 2 touchdowns in this game and has his almost 75 to 100 yard rush game. Anything with Hurts, I'm betting. You could even look at some Breece Hall stuff. Let's see, Breece Hall right now is only at 56.5. I might take that over after his 100+ yard performance last week. Philly is a little bit better against the run. But Breece Hall is him, just like Bijan. He's him. So, yeah, this game's going to be a fun one for Philly.
All right. I think did we lose Tony for a second here?
Did we? Oh, I can keep talking.
Oh. No, that's cool, but I don't know. I don't know.
What do you? I sorry,
Okay.
and I had up the spreadsheet, so I didn't even see it on my screen. Wally, what do you think about Brees Hall's line? Does that seem low to you, 56.5 after last week?
Truth be told, with the Brees Hall line, let me go over here. I do see it as a bad matchup for him. Unfortunately, like
I know
the Eagles,
Philly's a lot better against the
they're
rush,
they're
but
giving up they're giving up they're giving up about 3 yards per run, and Jalen Carter is a monster right now. So I'm
sure.
not touching Brees Hall. And frankly,
Uh,
I don't trust the Jets not to like their offensive scheming. Like betting overs on Jets players, like there's a reason I didn't take the Brees Hall over last week, even though it was such a good matchup, is because
sure.
when I don't trust your coaching to be stupid, I can't bet on it. There he is.
Yeah. And I've been seeing a lot of people this week too be real heavy on Devonta Smith, and I would like to bet that line over AJ Brown this week. His line's only at 52.5. AJ's at 68.5.
I think I just traded for Devonta Smith in a league because
Yeah,
someone was sick of him, and I get it. But Devonta Smith is going to have down weeks, and he's still going to finish the year as a top 15 receiver. So I'm happy to have
sure.
him.
But everyone's predicting this to be one of his up weeks.
Yeah,
For some reason, everyone's fading AJ this week. I don't know why.
don't
AJ's
ever
AJ,
fade AJ.
but
Like
yeah,
I'm not making a bet on AJ, but like I will always
right.
find a way to put like one share of him in a DFS lineup or something. Tony, do you got anything in this game?
Oh, you bet your ass! I was so excited, my bladder overreacted. Um, so I have 4 bets going in this game right now.
Okay.
Oh hell yeah!
For the Degenerates Gambit, similarly to Ryan, I'm tailing here. 6.5 is one of my top 5 or my top 4 bets of the week. Um, I have a same game parlay with Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown and the Eagles money line. I managed to get that up to plus 132 because I'm going to be real with you guys. I heard some dumbass on XM Fantasy Twitter talking about this, and he made a great point. Is like when it comes to parlays, if you're betting 500, like you're flushing your money down the toilet. So like if there's a player prop you like and you feel confident about the outcome of that game, you pair those two together, you're gonna get plus odds. So like plus 132 for an Eagles team that I feel confident in and a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown that I feel confident in, I'll take that because that's plus odds, right?
Sure.
Um, so I've talked a couple times. I've alluded to my three-headed monster of running backs that I want everywhere this week in DFS, in gambling, and everywhere. And it's Raheem Mostert, it's Kenneth Walker, and it's DeAndre Swift. All right, this is a
Same.
major DeAndre Swift week. Um, the talk about the Giants being this impenetrable, like 85 Bears level of defense is great when they're passing the ball, but they are susceptible on the ground.
You mean the Jets?
And yeah, the Jets have given up the 6th most rushing yards per game. Swift is still having a 70% rush share on that team, which is
Yep.
fucking nuts. Um, they are third in the NFL in adjusted yards before contact per attempt with 2.3. They have a major matchup advantage this week, and if Swift is going to get 70% of the rushes, if he's getting 15 carries this week, he's smashing his line of 65.5 rushing yards.
And the fact is, like the Jets are giving up over 4.25 yards per rushing attempt. DeAndre Swift is he's averaging 15 carries a game. So
Correct.
it's like it's a solid and he's a guy who will break it. And with those adjusted numbers you said, I can see why you like him. The only difference on your running back plays is instead of Swift, my other running back is David Montgomery on this, but that's because
I
he's
totally
David
get it.
Montgomery. Yeah.
So
But I have a lot of DeAndre Swift and DFS this week.
yeah, so my three-headed monster is Swift, Walker, and Mostert. Um, so next up, we've got once again one of my favorite pastimes of this NFL season: a New York football team on prime time.
Two
God,
New
it
York
sucks.
football teams on
We
prime
got
time.
2 of them, but like if it's a Jets or Giants game, I'm like, great, I can do other things tonight. Um, so we've got the Giants going to Buffalo. The Bills are 15.5 point favorites at home. A Giants upset on the money line is plus 750, and the total's 43.5. Ryan, what do you got?
I am almost inclined to bet uh, the Bills minus 15.5. The Giants are 0-5 this year against the spread. Compared to last year, they were 13-4. Not a good start. Um, the only saving grace they have this week is Saquon Barkley is back. Um, but I know Buffalo has a few injuries on defense, and they're allowing a decent amount of rush yards per game. Around, 134. But this is not. The Giants have given up 5.3 yards per rush this season, and 6.3 yards per play. That's 29th and 31st respectively. Um, Buffalo is just gonna house these guys. That's why I think Buffalo wins by 3 touchdowns, if not more.
They're bad, folks.
Yeah, and the Bills predominantly are using the nickel defense this year. Around 95% of their plays. That's the highest in the NFL. So against 5 defensive backs, the Giants struggle and are last in all the categories. Sack rate, TD interception ratio. Their Giants are just bad this year, and this game is going to be a blowout. I don't even know if I want to bet any of the lines. Maybe, I mean, don't mess around with Josh Allen rush yards. Those have not been hitting this year. He's not needing to rush like he has been. Last year when I was betting his rush yards all over, it seems low, 27.5, but he's not going to have to rush. And shit, he might not even play the fourth quarter.
Right.
So stay away from that. If you want to mess with anything, maybe some James Cook rush yards, 60.5. Giants give up the 5th most points to running backs. I think this has a potential to be a really good James Cook week. Because once they go up 2 touchdowns, they're not going to need to pass anymore. Staying away from Diggs, 85.5. If you want, bet the under. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I might go for his 6.5 reception line over, or maybe even James Cook's reception line over at 1.5. But other than that, this game's going to be a blowout, so I'm not super confident in a lot of the lines.
Okay. Wally.
Oh, here he comes. Look out, world, he'll chew you up. Oh, here he comes. He's a man beater. Let's talk about Stephon Diggs, guys.
How long you been waiting for that?
I've been waiting for that. I've had it in my head the entire week, like with that exact chorus. Stephon Diggs, New York Giants run man coverage at the 5th highest rate in the NFL. Stephon Diggs is averaging 0.9 fantasy points. He's almost averaging a fantasy point per route run against man coverage.
Those are Michael Wilson numbers.
Yeah. Only difference is he runs a lot more routes.
Sure does.
Stephon Diggs this week is the smashiest of smash plays, and that is also one of my top 5 bets of the week. I got him at 83.5 because I got it at the casino at Rivers. He's 85.5 over here in the FanDuel hemisphere, but whenever you can get a couple of points shaved off, you got to do it. I also have I did a boost because I got the boost for the Sunday night game. I got the over 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and over on receptions for Stephon Diggs this week because that's my little boosted parlay for $1 because it'll pay out like $6 or $7, and it will make me actually it's going to pay out like 12 or 13 if it hits. Stephon Diggs is the biggest smash play of this game. The other 2 plays I do like. The James Cook rushing over is a good play. I also like Josh Allen passing over in this game. Like I think that Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen are
What
going
was
to
it at?
smoke people. The Josh Allen passing line here is 260.5.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to destroy. Yeah, like Ryan, I cannot disagree with you more on like disliking Stephon Diggs this week. Stephon Diggs is one of my top 3 receivers of the week.
Okay, prove me wrong. I hope it's right because I have so much exposure to him in redraft.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Good position to be in. Anything else, Waleed?
Oh, that'll cover it. I got my singing in.
I like Diggs a lot this week. I think this is also a James Cook week, but I'm always hesitant to bet on guys that even in a good matchup like have unpredictable usage metrics. So like I don't like him for DFS because he could put up 60 yards on a drive and then Damian Harris could be the one that gets the touchdown. And to me, that's like the worst kind of gambling heartbreak because like your process was right, but the coaching
Yeah.
felt differently. So like I don't want to put myself in a position to be hurt by James Cook, but his rushing over is tempting. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. I like
Um,
James. I have James Cook more in DFS because of that.
which makes perfect sense. If you can get a lineup, yeah, like a super flex lineup where you have Sunday night games in there as well. James Cook is a good play.
Yep.
Um, all right, let's move on. Let's cover our last game. We
Yeah,
are
and
gonna
we are
talk.
digging dicks. I sang about him, man.
We're gonna talk some Sunday night football here. We've got Dallas going to LA, which means it's essentially a Cowboys home game. Dallas are 1.5 point road favorites. The Chargers are plus 108 on the money line, and the point total is 50.5. Ryan, take it away.
The spread's only at 1.5, so I'm not gonna bet that. Even though Dallas is 5-0 against the spread after a giant loss the past 2 seasons, and 9-1 against the spread after a big loss the past 3 seasons, I'm not seeing Dallas click this week. I do not like a lot in this game. I don't have anything. I don't think I have any bets on this game at all. But Prescott is a shell of himself. Do you know he's only has one 300-yard pass game in the last 17 starts?
Dak is overrated.
Yeah. Um.
To be fair to Dak this year, it's not his fault. Like, I mean, this this is a game of two stupid coaches, and I don't want to put any money on this game at all because I don't trust these stupid coaches to do
Yeah.
stupid things. So even though there are lines like the CD Lamb receiving over looks interesting to me, especially against this Chargers team, but at the same time, like I don't trust Mike McCarthy, and I'm not gonna bet money on Mike McCarthy doing smart things when
Yeah.
like he got rid of Kellen Moore because he doesn't want to score points. He wants
Right.
to just run the
Yeah.
football, and his offense has looked broken a lot of the year. Like they've been riding the back of that defense, and when that defense fails, they fall apart really, really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one line I might be inclined to bet would be the Eckler over 51.5. Seems pretty low. The Dallas defense ranks 25th in run stop win rate at 29.1%, while
You
the
can run
Charger
against them.
while the Chargers O line ranks 6th in run block win rate at 72.4%. So that says that the run game's got a good chance to do some damage this week. But other than that, I'm gonna have to look at these lines like tomorrow night after all the games are over or something. But I'm not confident in anything right now.
Okay. Waleed.
Um, no, I don't want to do anything. CD Lamb is the only thing that's worth looking at to me, and honestly, I won't bet it. I don't want to touch this game.
Um, I will say we were talking earlier about Nico Collins, right? Like strength on strength. And so to me, this is like strength on weakness for Dak Prescott. There's no reason why Dak should not shred this defense, except for
Agreed.
Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
And then at the same time, Justin Herbert, like, can you beat one of the best pass defenses in the league? And so this is just like a more exciting version of uh, the strength for strength that we're going to see Nico Collins face when he goes up against the Saints. So
Uh,
I have nothing in this game either. I'm not too worried about it. So that completes our slate. Do you want to run through the bets and then get into DFS?
I think that's the way to do it.
All right,
Okay.
Ryan, since you're the guy, why don't you tell us your top 5 bets of the week? Start us off.
All right. So once again, my top 5 bets of the week. Going over on the Chicago Minnesota game because, like we were saying earlier, Bears are 5-0 on overs this year, and Minnesota is 4-1 on overs this year. And both defenses are not that great, and both offenses have been shining the last few weeks. I've got a Mostert anytime touchdown. I've got Philly minus 6.5 the spread. I've got Christian Kirk's over 63.5 reception yards, and I've got Stafford for over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Okay. Waleed, your top 5 of the week, please.
My top 5 of the week, I got Matt Stafford at over 276.5 passing yards, along with Cooper Kupp at over 87.5 receiving yards. I got Jamar Chase over 86.5 receiving yards, Kenneth Walker over 66.5 rushing yards, and Stephon Diggs over 83.5 receiving yards. Basically, I'm just trusting good dogs to hit their overs. Again,
Okay.
really good matchups.
My top 5 plays of the week are DeAndre Swift over 65.5 rushing, Zay Flowers over 58.5 receiving, Kirk Cousins over 23.5 completions, Kenneth Walker over 66.5 rushing, and Josh Downs over 45.5 receiving. Ryan, tell us your parlays, champ.
All right, so my money line parlay, I went with Detroit, Baltimore, Jacksonville, and Miami. It's a pretty conservative parlay. It's only plus 283. I put 5 units down to win 19 and some change.
Okay. Your same game?
Oh yeah, my same game. I went with the Dolphins game. I've got a Mostert anytime touchdown. Got Thielen's over 5.5 receptions. The Mostert over on his rushing at 77.5, and then Tua over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Another conservative monitor. It's actually not that conservative. It's plus 521. $5 will get you a little over $30.
All right. Parlay King Waleed, what do you got?
Oh, I'm excited for this one. So my same game parlay I talked about earlier. We got Matt Stafford over 277.5 passing yards, Cooper Kupp over 86.5 receiving yards, and Puka Nacua at over 66.5 receiving yards. At $5 I get plus 550. I was able to, I believe I boosted that to get those to get that price because I try to boost wherever I can. The other this is the one that I'm really excited about because I was able to use on Friday they gave us the 100% boost. You had to use it that day, and the Diggs line dropped just in time for me to add this boost. I just took three of my top 5 bets that aren't in my same game parlay. Jamar Chase over 90.5. Unfortunately, I had to do it on FanDuel, so I didn't get the nice price. Kenneth Walker over 66.5 and Diggs over 85.5. 5 units. It goes at plus 1038. Pays out $51.90.
Okay. On my money line parlay, I took Miami, Minnesota, San Francisco, Philly, and Buffalo. That got me up to plus 204, which would give me $15 back on my $5 investment. My same game parlay, Cooper Kupp, seven receptions or more, Puka Nacua, 6 receptions or more, and the Rams money line. $5 on that at plus 346 is 22.30 in response. So let's get to the part we've all been waiting for. All right, Ryan, why don't you tell us your millionaire bet of the week?
All right. I wanted to do something, since I'm this is the 3rd week in a row. I wanted to do something that wasn't like super conservative, but wasn't like crazy over the top. And I think Mostert to get 2 touchdowns at plus 250. And I see that people are betting it because it just went down to 240. I checked like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I think that's a good bet, especially with all the information we just spat at each other about the run game that Miami has and who they're going against this week. So I think that's a pretty good investment. So I had 6150 from last week at plus 250. That will give me with the money I don't know put me over $200. It'll put me like 215 and a quarter.
Yep. All right, Waleed, your millionaire bet.
So I'm chasing, and I was hoping I was going to be able to gain some ground because my bet is Cooper Kupp with an adjusted money line, with adjusted receiving yards at over 125 receiving yards. I'm kind of regretting not going to 150 now because I want to try to catch Ryan here, and I don't think I can now. But you know what? That's fine. I will go 270. Trust that Cooper Kupp gets 125 receiving yards. With my $41 from winning last week, that'll pay me out to $110.70, and hopefully help me get my God Emperor status back.
Okay. And I am on a 1-week win streak myself. My total's 1877. and I put that on TJ Hawkinson over 5.5 receptions at minus 102, which would put me up at 37-17. You guys can go ahead and try to fight for whatever. I'm just going to hang out back and do my own thing. So,
Hey, that's a good bet.
so let's do DFS real quick. Let's run through our guys of the week. So, uh, how long have you been waiting on that one? That's beautiful. All right, so Ryan, why don't you tell us who your quarterback play of the week is?
You know what? If I'm looking through the main slate right now, I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence. Uh, I think he's gonna shred apart this Indianapolis defense just like he did the first week when they played him.
Okay.
So yeah, let's go Trevor Lawrence.
All right, Waleed.
So my QB play of the week, I like him because he's a good value and he's just got a great matchup. Matt Stafford at 7,300 is the guy I probably have in the most lineups.
Okay. And my DFS quarterback play of the week is Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Ryan, why don't you go ahead and let us know who your running back play is?
That's obviously gonna be Mostert when he scores 5 touchdowns.
Obviously.
Okay, I think we're all in love with Mostert this week.
Yep.
Waleed, your running back play of the week?
Honestly, I got to go Kenneth Walker. That's my number one running back of the week. If we were going to go for a value play too, a running back that I think is a pretty decent price is Alexander Madison against the Bears defense that gives up over 20 points a game regularly. So all he
Okay.
has to do is find his way into the end zone at that price, and he has a good return on his investment.
Okay. And for like people like Deku who have been here a while and listening to what we've been talking about and figuring out actionable ways to work this into DFS may know that I've referred to a three-headed monster at running backs this week. And I was trying to choose between the three, but that's great because Ryan and Wally picked my other two. So I'm just going to go with DeAndre Swift as my running
Yep.
back play of the week.
Awesome.
I was like, how do I let Tony get his guy? And then I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. Whoever I pick, he's just going to take the other one.
It's a great problem to have. If you
Yep.
can fit two of those three into your builds, by any means necessary, man, because there's a chance that they might put up 100 points between the three of them.
Right.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, your wide receiver play of the week.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna go with Adam Thielen. Screw it.
Oh,
They're gonna be playing from behind the whole game, and the guy's getting like 10, 12 targets every game. Had over
30%
100.
target share.
Had over 100 yards last week and a touchdown. I could see him getting another touchdown this week. You know, maybe even two. At some point they're gonna be down like 30-10, so they're gonna have to be throwing the whole game.
Okay, Adam Thielen. Waleed, your receiver.
Well, obviously, because I got Matt Stafford, I'm going Cooper Cup. I mean, Cooper Cup's my millionaire bet. He is my favorite receiver of the week. That's the guy I want. But if I was going like for a value play, I think KJ Osborne at 6,200 against the Chicago Bears defense. I like you'll notice a trend here. Hey, that Bears defense gives up a lot of points. Let's get cheap players who are going to get a lot of targets against them and see what happens. Like I think KJ Osborne has a lot of value this week.
Okay. My receiver play is a pay down option in the purest sense of the word. You can get Josh Downs at 5,900. And so I'm putting him
5,600.
56. Yep. I'm putting him everywhere I can. Like,
Ooh, that's right.
I have a ton of exposure to Josh Downs this week.
yep. So, Ryan, the tight end whisperer, whisper away, my friend.
I mean, I'm gonna go Laporta. He
Right until the
should
wheels
play.
fall off.
He should play because I know someone else. Because I know so.
Yep.
The,
He's earned it. He's
the
earned
most
it.
expensive tight end of the
right.
week.
I think that's okay. So I've been playing DFS for I don't know almost a decade since like 2015. I don't think I've ever seen a rookie tight end go from like 4,800 at the beginning of the season, and now we're talking week 6, and on the main slate he is the number one tight end
No,
in
you haven't
terms
because
of
it hasn't
salary.
ever happened.
No. So I'm gonna roll with him. If he doesn't play, I'll pivot back to Hawkinson, who I'm sure Tony's gonna take. But
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like because like I assume Tony's also going to take Hawkinson, but on the off chance he isn't, like I want to make sure Hawkinson's talked about. But the guy I'm actually looking at from a great value standpoint, Logan Thomas at 5,400, with his target share, as I talked about earlier in the gambling show, I think he's a good value play where you can save some money and get some looks. But also, you'll notice that I did say I was taking all those guys who were playing the Bears. T.J. Hawkinson, if Tony doesn't mention him, is a guy you should be looking at.
Yep.
Tony's going to mention T.J. Hawkinson.
Hell yeah.
This is a Hawkinson week. One of the reasons why I think Addison is a trap is because those targets are going to go to Hawkinson. I think we see there's a chance that he, like last year, he was getting 13 targets a game a couple times. This
Yeah.
could easily be one of those games. Bears red zone defense is atrocious. Bears can be beat up the middle. TJ Hawkinson's used all over the field. This is a big Hawkinson week if you're going to pay up.
Yep.
Logan Thomas is a great pay down if you're trying to get the three-headed beast at running back like I did everywhere. Like Kate Otten, Logan Thomas, these are guys that you can use to save money. Josh Downs, Donta Foreman, like these are guys that you can use, but I don't need Foreman because I got my running backs already filled.
Yep. One other tight end I want to throw out there. Evan Ingram got a really good matchup this week at 5,500. He's a guy if you're looking at.
All right, so we're looking at Deku. Deku's big on CeeDee Lamb this week, but their lineup. All right, Stafford, Bijan, I'm assuming, Swift, Cup, Nico Collins, Josh Downs, Logan Thomas, Calvin Ridley, Lions defense. Ryan, your thoughts?
Switch out Ridley for Kirk.
But
it's pretty sexy lineup. That is a good one.
I actually agree with you though, because this feels like a Kirk week to me too.
I know that Kirk tore up, the first week against Indy, but I don't think it's going to happen again.
You mean
Ridley? Ridley tore up the first week, yeah.
And that saves you 66 to 7,000. That saves you 400. I got to tell you, I'm looking. Let me look at defenses real quick.
I'm just going to put this on the screen right here because...
Yeah, Lions defense at 4,400 is a good play, but man, if you're telling me I can get the Patriots at 36, like, that's my DFS defense of the week. I'm not huge on Ridley and Nico, but I think, like, if you believe in the talent, I think there's a chance Nico's super low owned. And,
and especially with that New England game expected to be very low scoring game, you're probably going to want the New England defense.
And there are two defenses.
Good.
I was going to say, you were talking about New England, but I want to point out a couple other defenses I pointed out in the defensive streamer article. Depending on how you feel the Atlanta-Washington Commanders game is going to go up, either way, these are defenses that give up a ton of fantasy points. Whoever you think is going to win that game is a fantasy defense you should be considering. The Washington Commanders have a great matchup at 4,000. It's a good price. The Falcons also, which I think at 4,100, I lean more towards the Falcons because, man, the Washingtons give up a lot of sacks and a lot of turnovers. And, like, that gives you a good floor baseline. Which only helps that defense keep their point total up,
and which helps which helps Deku's pick of Bijan Robinson as his running back.
Yep.
Yep. So, do we want to run through our lineups for our head-to-head contest?
I'm happy to.
Would you? Okay, so if you made that swap, would you switch out Ridley for Kirk and then put in Mostert over Bijan?
Oh my God, 100%. This.
Sure.
Yeah, that Mostert's matchup is so freaking good, and he's not going to be and I'm not worried about him losing carries to Akane this week because Akane's on IR, and New England's defense I think is the better matchup than the Lions defense, so I would 100% smash that. Okay. I actually think I might already have this lineup here somewhere else. You got a lot of guys I have. Ugh.
Oh my God, Josh, don't say that.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
All right. Do we want before we get out of here? Do we want to go over our NFL head-to-head contest? Our
I'm going to show
DFS
you my
lineup.
lineup right now.
Okay.
We got Matt Stafford, Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk, Josh Downs, Zach Ertz, Donta Foreman in the Falcons defense. I might actually switch this up a little bit here because I'm thinking I can pay down. No, I'm going to keep it because I like Atlanta too. And Zach Ertz has a good matchup, and one time he has to hit for me.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. So Deku actually put in the New England defense. Hell yeah. Nico Collins or
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson?
Nico Collins.
I'm going Nico too. Ryan, do you agree?
Sure.
Oh, because here's the real question: Nico Collins or Garrett Wilson. Here's the real question you're asking: C.J. Stroud or Zach Wilson, or C.J. Stroud or Josh Dobbs. And I'm taking C.J. Stroud over both of them.
Okay. So Ryan, do you have your contest lineup ready to go?
I'm almost done.
Okay, I'll do mine.
Okay.
My DFS lineup build, I think you're gonna like it. I have Matthew Stafford at quarterback. I have DeAndre Swift at running back. I have Donta Foreman as my other running back. My receivers are Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, and Josh Downs. We're going overload, baby.
I love it.
In order to afford that, I went with Cade Otton at tight end. I have Raheem Mostert as my flex, and I have the Patriots defense.
Oh, that's a real sexy lineup.
Yeah.
Oh, Puka is going to be like is going to be the difference between our matchup, I think.
All right.
I love that lineup, Deku. I love it.
I've got an interesting one here. All right.
Okay.
All right. So I'm pairing Trevor Lawrence with Christian Kirk. I've got Mostert. I've got Kamara. I've got Josh Downs. I've got KJ Osborne. I've got the Jaguars defense. I've got TJ Hawkinson and Sam Laporta.
That's
oh, that is a Ryan lineup if I've ever heard one.
But you know what? It's a small tourney, right? Like it's limited to 10 people, 20 people. Like that kind of shit works. And Deku, go nuts. Steal away, my friend. So I think that's it. So let me plug the podcast. I think it just dropped recently.
It just dropped in the last.
Yeah, Ryan and I do the TH Fantasy podcast with our buddy Shane, Waleed, frequent guest. Yeah, we have the University of Blank this week. And I write an article for Football Absurdity, the Degenerates Gambit. I'm 13-7 this year, so go ahead and check that out on the website. And Waleed, take it away.
Guys, thank you very much for joining us. We also have the Start Sit Show tomorrow at 10:30 to help you guys set your lineups and make the best choices you can make with the information we have on the injury report. Every Tuesday morning, our super producer Josh and I do the waiver wire reports, where we talk about the ads and cuts of the week to help you guys prep for your waiver wire. And then, of course, there's always Thursday Night Farceball on Twitch. Oh, yeah. We have been crushing it everywhere as Football Absurdity because we are Football Absurdity.
Let's get it. All right. So anything else before we go? Because I got nothing.
Yeah, All right.
Well, thanks for coming by. Thank you, Deku, for hopping in. Can't wait to spend the rest of the day agonizing over the picks we've made.
Yep. Hell yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Wrap up question, lads. I like Nico more than Hollywood, but I don't dislike Hollywood. Hollywood's a PPR machine.
That's true.
And he's also very likely going to be low rostered. But I see he's got an illness, which makes me nervous.
COVID's not real, according to the NFL.